There are still a lot of people who are in denial, if you like, far fewer than there used to be. I do want to emphasize that. There was a time, 10 years ago, let alone 15 or 20 years ago, where large numbers of people would say, oh, the science isn't settled yet, and we don't really subscribe to that science, and we're suspicious about this notion of a scientific consensus. To be honest, almost all of that has gone for people who are prepared to look dispassionately at what the science tells us. But clearly there are a lot of people who are not going to go there, who don't want to do that, who will default much more comfortably to a position where they deny the validity of that science. And actually, more disturbingly in a way, they don't actually deny the science any longer, they deny the implications of the science. So what I was talking about today in particular, about the difference between a 1.5 degrees centigrade and a 2 degrees centigrade change, they would say, oh, that's ridiculous. You can't possibly make this theorizing about what happens when we get to 2 degrees centigrade. Sort of along the lines of, where's your proof? We've never cooked a planet before, so until we've cooked one, we haven't really got the firm data we need to tell us what happens at different points as the temperature increases by certain amounts. So we have a lot more dismissiveness when it comes to the implications. And then, as the first question raised there, Sophie, there's the question of indifference, not denial, not just simply saying, I don't believe a word of this, but simply saying, yeah, I've got all that, but life's busy, it's difficult. I've got so many other things to deal with, and quite honestly, it's never going to come up that high on my to-do list to persuade me that I need to make a priority of this. And for, so many people, life is so difficult, as we know, and not going to be getting any easier over the course of the next couple of years with the cost of living crisis and everything else. My only way around that is not to try and persuade everybody to become a full-on climate activist and commit to getting stuck in with Extinction Rebellion or whatever else it might be. That tends not to work, trust me. But just baby steps, just little things, just beginning to think some of the purchasing stories that they might be making. Just thinking about little things they can read quickly to get their head around a certain aspect of this. Brilliant websites, particularly for young people. There are some astonishing educational resources for young people now, which parents can make available to children and grandchildren. So don't have too high a set of expectations, is my honest answer to a really important question. Because if you think that the power of reason and science alone is going to bring everybody into this state of elevated awareness and increased activism, that I think we've got enough evidence to know that isn't going to happen. But bit by bit, especially when we share things, it is possible to bring more and more people into that space. And I hope I'm not overemphasizing this, but particularly parents and grandparents. And I'm very focused on this notion of intergenerational cooperation, grandparents and grandchildren. Because in a way, the bit in the middle, the parents, it is difficult to make sense of this stuff. But grandparents have got a fantastic opportunity to see what they can do to help grandchildren. Yes. So 50 years on, you might say, well, there's a wonderful life of failure, as in not having been able to influence politicians and people to make the changes fast enough. But in truth, I don't quite see it like that. It's a cumulative story, and people are beginning to see things very differently. And that the absolute inflection point in this will come when the power that the old industries of yesterday, what I call the incumbent industries, so the real power brokers of our industrialized economy in the 20th century in particular, the oil and gas, the mining, chemicals, all of these hugely powerful industries that generated billions and billions of dollars of wealth and profit and jobs and skills and all the rest of it. The inflection point will come when those incumbent industries have less to offer society than the industries of the future. Because at that point, from a politician's point of view, and I'm not going to get too cynical about politicians today, trust me, but from a politician's point of view, you do not want to be putting a lot of your energy into propping up a whole set of dying industries, which actually create fewer jobs, less wealth, less innovation for the future than the industries and the companies of the future. I don't know when those two lines are going to cross over. I do know that we're very nearly there with renewable electricity. If you look at 2021, I'm going to try and get this statistic right, more than 80% of investment in new electricity, so not the existing stuff, if you like, not the incumbent industries, but more than 80% went into renewables. So if you keep doing that year after year after year after year, the power brokers of the electricity system in 5 to 10 years' time won't be the oil and gas companies. It'll be the companies that are doing renewable electricity, storage, new grids, batteries, different ways of thinking about how we use energy. People who will prosper through energy efficiency, putting that at the top of our list of priorities, particularly in our leaky, very badly insulated homes here in the UK. So I'm trying to be very pragmatic about this because I've looked for a long time at what it is that might trigger this shift. And it could happen very, very quickly once a new generation of politicians begin to realize that their interests and the interests of those they represent are not best served by hanging on to yesterday's industries. They can serve their constituents, citizens of their country, more effectively by working more effectively with the wealth creators of the future.